What if everything you've been told about why your vision is fading after 60 is only half the story? Most people believe blurry vision past a certain age is simply something you live with. You squint at a menu across the table and laugh it off as just part of getting older. You hold a pill bottle a little further from your face every year without really noticing you've started doing it. Headlights at night turn into bursts of light instead of two clean beams, and you grip the steering wheel a little tighter every single time without even realizing your hands are doing it on their own. Here's what almost never gets explained to you in a normal doctor's visit. None of that is simply getting older. It's the result of something specific happening inside your eyes, something that's been quietly building for years, mostly while you sleep. And here's the part that should genuinely concern you. This kind of damage almost never announces itself early. It builds quietly for years, long before it ever becomes something you'd think to mention at your next checkup. By the time it's noticeable enough to bring up out loud, the underlying shortage causing it has usually been going on far longer than most people would ever guess. While your body rests at night, your eyes are supposed to be doing their most important repair work of the entire day. But that repair only happens if your eyes actually have the raw materials they need to do it. For a lot of people past 60, they simply don't. And the damage doesn't show up as pain. It shows up slowly, as fog in the morning that takes longer to clear than it used to, as colors that look a shade duller than they once did, as a face across the room that takes a second longer to come into focus than it should. Stronger glasses don't fix this. Eye drops don't fix this. Even surgery, when it's truly needed, deals with the result, not the actual shortage that caused it in the first place. But there is one fruit, eaten the right way, at the right time of night, that gives your eyes exactly what they've been running short on. And here's something that might surprise you. There's a very good chance it's already sitting in the same grocery store you shop at every week, quietly overlooked in the dried fruit aisle, while everyone walks straight past it toward the raisins and dried cranberries. I'm going to tell you exactly which one it is, exactly how to eat it, and the mistakes that can quietly cancel out almost all of its benefit if you're not careful. Stay with me until the end, because the timing matters just as much as the fruit itself. My name is Dr. William. For more than 20 years, I've sat across from patients just like you, hearing this exact same question more times than I can count. Doctor, why is my vision getting worse, and is there anything I can actually do about it, besides a stronger prescription? I've spent my career working with older adults on the everyday habits that actually move the needle on their health, not just the medications and procedures that get all the attention. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the answer to that question is almost never as complicated as people expect it to be. So let's start with what's actually going on inside your eyes. In plain terms, the way I'd explain it sitting across from you in my office. At the back of your eye, you have a thin layer of tissue called the retina. Its job is to take light and turn it into the images your brain understands. The retina is one of the hardest working tissues in your entire body. It burns through oxygen and nutrients faster than almost anything else you have, faster than most of your muscles, faster than your skin. While you sleep, your retina is supposed to repair the wear and tear from the day. That's one of its main jobs overnight, alongside everything else your body is doing while you rest. But repair only happens if the raw materials are actually there waiting for it. If they're not, the damage doesn't get fixed. It just sits there, unrepaired, and the next day adds a little more on top of it. Over months and years, that adds up to exactly the kind of blurry, foggy, strained vision most people assume is simply part of getting older. Have you ever noticed that your vision feels foggier first thing in the morning than it does by lunchtime? That's not your imagination. And it's not just age. That is your retina telling you, quite literally, that it didn't get what it needed overnight. Do headlights at night seem harsher or blurrier than they used to? That's the same shortage, showing up in a different way. Here's the part most people never get explained to them clearly. Not even at the eye doctor. Right in the center of your retina is a small area called the macula. That's the part of your eye responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision, reading, recognizing faces from across a room, making out fine print on a label. Sitting inside that macula are two nutrients your body depends on to protect it: lutein and zeaxanthin. Think of them as a built-in pair of sunglasses, woven directly into the tissue of your own eye, filtering out the harshest light and soaking up the oxidative stress your eyes deal with constantly. Every time you step outside, every time you stare at a screen, every single day of your life. Here's the problem. Your body doesn't make lutein or zeaxanthin on its own. Not even a small amount. You have to get every bit of it from what you eat. And as you get older, your natural reserves of these two nutrients decline on their own, while the daily wear and tear on your eyes stays exactly the same, or gets worse. There's something else working against you here, and it compounds the nutrient shortage even further. As you get older, the tiny blood vessels feeding your retina naturally stiffen and narrow, just like blood vessels everywhere else in your body. That means even the nutrients you do manage to get from your diet have a harder time actually reaching your retina in the first place. Add decades of sun exposure and years of staring at screens on top of that, and you've got a retina that's both running low on protection and struggling to get fresh supplies delivered to where they're needed. That combination, low reserves and poor delivery, is exactly why vision changes tend to accelerate once you're past 60, rather than declining at a steady, predictable pace. This is exactly why macular degeneration is one of the leading causes of vision loss in older adults. It's not bad luck, and it's not a switch that flips one day out of nowhere. It's a slow, steady mismatch, repeated every single night for years, between what your eyes are using up and what they're actually being given back to work with. And here's something worth sitting with for a second. Most of the time, when this comes up at a regular appointment, the conversation moves straight to eye drops, a stronger glasses prescription, or scheduling a procedure somewhere down the road. There's nothing wrong with any of that, and sometimes it's exactly what's needed. But none of those approaches actually restock what your eyes are short on. They manage the symptoms sitting in front of you. They don't touch the supply problem underneath it. Nutrition almost never gets mentioned, mostly because a 15-minute appointment doesn't leave room for it. That's not anyone's fault. It's just how the system works, which is part of why I wanted to sit down and walk you through this properly, in a way nobody usually has time to do in a normal visit. Have you ever wondered why doctors keep telling you that sleep matters for nearly everything, including your eyes? Here's the piece most people never hear. Your eyes don't just rest while you sleep. They actively work. During your deepest stages of sleep, blood flow patterns shift, and your body produces higher levels of melatonin, the same hormone responsible for regulating your sleep cycle. What most people don't know is that melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It's also a powerful antioxidant, and your eye tissue specifically relies on it during the night to help neutralize the oxidative stress that built up over the course of the day. If your sleep is poor, interrupted, or too short, your eyes lose access to a big part of this nightly cleanup process, on top of whatever nutrient shortage is already working against them. This is exactly why the timing of what you eat in the evening matters so much. You're not just feeding your body before bed, you're loading the exact window your eyes depend on most. Now, before I tell you exactly what to eat and how to eat it, I need to say something clearly, because this matters more than anything else in this video. If you're noticing sudden changes in your vision, blurriness that came on quickly, blind spots, flashes of light, or you've already been told you have an eye condition like macular degeneration, glaucoma, or cataracts, what I'm about to share with you is not a substitute for seeing your eye doctor. This is something you do alongside good medical care, never instead of it. Your eyes are too valuable to gamble with. With that said, let's talk about what you can actually do, starting tonight. There's no shortage of advice out there about eating carrots or leafy greens for your eyes. Your mother probably told you the same thing decades ago, and she wasn't wrong. Carrots and greens genuinely help, but that advice is incomplete, and here's exactly why. Most of the foods people automatically reach for, kale, spinach, carrots, are higher in lutein and much lower in zeaxanthin. And your macula relies on both, in different places, doing different jobs. If you're only getting one of the two, you're only protecting half of what actually needs protecting. There is one fruit that stands above the rest, specifically because of how concentrated it is in the exact nutrient most diets are missing entirely. It's not exotic. It's not expensive. You won't need to special order it or drive across town to find it. And once I explain why it works, you'll understand exactly why I recommend it to my own patients before almost anything else. The fruit is the goji berry. I know that might surprise you. Goji berries don't get nearly the attention that blueberries or kale get when people talk about eye health. But here's what most people don't realize. Goji berries are one of the richest natural sources of zeaxanthin found in any food on the planet. Not lutein, zeaxanthin specifically. And that distinction matters more than you'd think. Lutein spreads out across the outer ring of your macula. Zeaxanthin concentrates right in the center, exactly where your sharpest, most detailed vision lives. When researchers measure something called macular pigment optical density, essentially how much protective pigment is actually sitting inside your macula, older adults who regularly eat goji berries tend to show measurably higher levels than those who don't. More pigment in that exact spot means more of your central vision is shielded from the oxidative stress that builds up every day, and especially overnight, while your eyes are trying to repair themselves. Goji berries have actually been used for eye health in traditional medicine for centuries, long before anyone understood the mechanism behind why. What's interesting is that modern nutrition science is now able to explain something people noticed a very long time ago through nothing more than careful observation. On top of the zeaxanthin, goji berries also carry a meaningful amount of vitamin A and vitamin C. Vitamin A supports the surface of your eye and your tear film, which is part of why dry, scratchy eyes become so common as we age. Vitamin C supports the strength and flexibility of the small blood vessels feeding your retina, the same blood vessels responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients during that overnight repair window we talked about earlier. Goji berries also contain a modest amount of zinc, a mineral eye researchers have paid close attention to for years because of its specific role in supporting macular health. Your retina holds on to more zinc than almost any other tissue in your body relative to its size, and it depends on that zinc for some of its most basic repair functions. Most people associate zinc with immune health and completely overlook its role in vision, but inside your eye, it's doing quiet, essential work every single day. None of this is a coincidence. It's a fruit that happens to be unusually well matched to exactly what an aging eye runs short on, in more than one way at once. Now, you might be wondering, why not just take a lutein and zeaxanthin supplement instead of eating a fruit? It's a fair question, and the honest answer is, food first is usually the better starting point. Whole foods bring along fiber and other compounds that work together with the main nutrient in ways a standalone capsule simply doesn't replicate. Your body also tends to handle nutrients better when they arrive the way nature packaged them, alongside everything else that comes with the fruit itself. That doesn't mean supplements never have a place. It just means that for most people, the simplest and most effective starting point is something you can pick up at a regular grocery store, not a specialty supplement aisle. This is also why timing matters as much as the fruit itself, maybe more. Your eyes do the bulk of their repair work while you sleep, during your deepest stages of rest. If the nutrients they need are actually circulating in your bloodstream around the time you go to sleep, your retina has direct access to them right when it needs them most. Eat the exact same goji berries at the wrong time of day, say first thing in the morning, and a real portion of that benefit is already used up elsewhere in your body, long before your eyes get their turn that night. So here's exactly how I recommend using this, step by step. Take a small handful, about 1 to 2 tablespoons, of dried goji berries. Soak them in a little warm water for around 10 minutes. This softens them and makes them easier to digest, which matters more as we get older and digestion naturally slows down. Eat them in the evening, roughly an hour before bed. You can eat them plain, straight out of the bowl. You can stir them into a small serving of plain yogurt. You can sprinkle them over a bit of warm oatmeal if that's more your evening routine. However you eat them, the timing matters more than the format. Here's the detail most people skip, and it's the one that actually makes the difference between getting the benefit and missing most of it. Zeaxanthin is fat-soluble. That means your body cannot absorb it well on its own, no matter how many goji berries you eat. Pair them with a small amount of healthy fat, a few walnuts, a springboard of plain yogurt, a drizzle of olive oil if you're mixing them into something warm. Skip that step, and you're leaving a real portion of the benefit on the table every single night, even if you're doing everything else exactly right. One practical note worth mentioning. If you're watching your sugar intake, dried goji berries are naturally a little sweet, more than people expect. A smaller portion, around a tablespoon, still gets the job done without overdoing it. There's no need for a large handful for this to work. When you're choosing goji berries at the store, look at the ingredient list. It should say goji berries and nothing else. No added sugar, no syrup coating, no oil. Plain and simple is exactly what you want. Once you bring them home, store them in a sealed container in a cool, dry cupboard, not sitting open on the counter, exposed to air and light. That keeps them fresher for longer and protects the nutrients you're actually trying to get out of them. And I want to be honest with you about something else. This isn't a one-night fix. Your macula builds up protective pigment gradually, over weeks of steady intake, not overnight and not after a single serving. Think of it less like medicine and more like a habit you're feeding your eyes every single evening, the same way you'd think about a daily walk or a consistent bedtime. A few other things are worth keeping in mind alongside this, because they all feed into the same overnight repair window we've been talking about. Do you find yourself scrolling on your phone right up until the lights go off? That bright, close-up light keeps your eyes working hard right when they should be winding down. Cutting that out in the last half hour before bed gives your eyes a gentler transition into the rest they need. Keep the lighting in your bedroom dim in that last hour too, rather than a harsh overhead light. Your eyes shift into their nighttime repair mode more easily when they're not adjusting to bright light right before you close them. And stay hydrated through the day, not just in the evening. Dry, scratchy eyes are often a hydration problem as much as anything else, and that's something a glass of water earlier in the day does more for than anything you eat right before bed. If this kind of practical, no-nonsense guidance is useful to you, this is exactly what I cover every week for older adults and the families who care for them here on Senior Health Sessions. Now let me walk you through 4 mistakes I see constantly, because any one of these can quietly cancel out almost everything we just talked about. The first mistake is buying sugar-coated or candied goji berries. A lot of what's sold in stores has been rolled in added sugar and marketed like a snack food, sitting right next to the trail mix and dried mango. That defeats the purpose entirely, and it's an easy thing to grab without noticing. Look for plain, unsweetened dried goji berries. They should taste slightly tart, almost like a cross between a cranberry and a raisin, not like candy. The second mistake is pairing your evening goji berries with caffeine or alcohol close to bedtime. I know that might sound unrelated, but remember what we talked about earlier. Your eyes do their repair work during deep, uninterrupted sleep. Caffeine and alcohol both disrupt the quality of that sleep, even when you don't notice it the next morning, even when you feel like you slept fine. You can eat the right fruit at the right time with the right pairing and still shortchange your eyes if the sleep that follows isn't solid enough for them to actually do their job. The third mistake is treating this as something you try for a few days and then quietly drop because you don't notice an immediate difference. You won't notice one right away, and that's completely normal. Macular pigment builds up slowly, the same way it took years to deplete in the first place. The patients I've worked with who stuck with this consistently for several weeks are the ones who actually noticed a change. Less eye strain by evening, less of that foggy feeling first thing in the morning. The ones who gave up after a few days never gave their eyes enough time to actually build that protection back up. There is a fourth mistake worth mentioning, and it catches people who are otherwise doing everything right. Eating a large, heavy meal right before bed, even if your goji berries are part of it, can work against you. A full stomach close to bedtime makes it harder for your body to settle into the deep, uninterrupted sleep your eyes depend on for repair. Keep your evening meal earlier, and treat your goji berries closer to bedtime as their own small, separate moment, not something tacked on to the tail end of a big dinner. Think for a moment about what this actually means in your day-to-day life, not just in theory. Reading the label on your medication bottle without holding it at arm's length and squinting. Reading a recipe card in your own handwriting without needing someone else to read it out loud for you. Driving home after dark without gripping the steering wheel a little tighter than you used to, without that small knot of anxiety every time a car approaches with its headlights on. Looking across the dinner table and actually seeing the faces of the people you love clearly, every detail, not as a slightly soft outline you've quietly gotten used to over the years without even realizing it. That's not a small thing. That's your independence behind the wheel. That's your confidence walking into a room full of people and recognizing faces before they say a word. That's not missing a single detail when your grandchild is telling you about their day, their face lit up, and you catching every bit of it. When was the last time you had a full, dilated eye exam? Not just a quick vision check at the pharmacy or the grocery store kiosk. If you can't remember, that's worth changing, regardless of anything else we've talked about today. This fruit is something you do in addition to good eye care, never instead of it. And here's one last question for you. If your eyes felt a little sharper, a little less strained a few weeks from now, what's the first thing you'd want to look at clearly? Hold on to that answer for a second. It's a good enough reason to actually follow through on this tonight, not just watch and forget about it by tomorrow. So let's bring this back to where we started. If your vision has felt blurrier than it should, if mornings feel foggier than they used to, if headlights at night have started bothering you more than they ever did before, this isn't simply something you have to accept as just getting older. Part of what's happening is a nutrient your eyes specifically need, in a specific place, and most diets simply aren't supplying enough of it, especially overnight, when your eyes are working hardest to repair themselves. Here's the simple version, in case you only remember one thing from this video. A small handful of plain, unsweetened goji berries, soaked briefly in warm water, eaten about an hour before bed, paired with a little healthy fat like a few walnuts or a spoonful of plain yogurt. That's it. That's the whole protocol. Stay consistent with it for several weeks, give your eyes the lighting and sleep conditions they need alongside it, and give it the time it actually needs to work. It's simple, it's inexpensive, and it's something you can start tonight, not next month, not after you finish the bag of chips in the pantry. Take care of these eyes. You only get one pair, and they've carried you through a lifetime of faces, sunsets, and small moments worth seeing clearly. Give them what they've been asking for. For more calm, practical health guidance for older adults, subscribe to Senior Health Sessions. I'll see you in the next one.